Hey there, everybody. It's Nick. Today we are back with a video, and today I'll be running you through Adobe Premiere Pro for editing videos, little video projects you want to do, vlogging, things like that. And today I'll be running you through the basics because Adobe Premiere Pro is very complicated, like most Adobe products are. So today I'll just be running you through the bare bone basics of Premiere so you can get started editing your videos. So first and foremost, we must click on the Adobe Premiere Pro icon down at the bottom. So today, I'll be running you through 7 things: layout, importing clips, editing clips, effects on clips, titles, how to save, and exporting. So those are all the things I'll be covering today, and let's get started. So first, we shall see a start screen pop up. So you can see it says recent. It's on the recent tab. So these are ones that I've recently opened, and it'll tell you when they have been last opened, which is very convenient. But for the purposes of this video, I'll be opening a new project, but you can also click open old project that perhaps hasn't been a recent one. But for now, I'll click on new project. Now this will come up with a bunch of settings that we really don't need to worry about right now. For right now, I'll just put Adobe tutorial, and let's get started. So this project already exists. Yeah, so I already have one, but we'll just say yes. That wouldn't happen for you if it's your first time making a video. Okay, so here we have the pretty much basic layout of Premiere Pro. And you can drag, if certain sections are too big or too small, you can drag them, make them bigger or smaller, and you will want to make them bigger and smaller throughout the editing process because you will be doing different things at different times, which require more room on certain parts of the screen. So let's go over the sections. Right here, if we go all the way far to the left, we got your project. Now, this is all the stuff. We don't have anything imported. See, it says import media to start. We don't have anything imported, which means we have no files to edit yet. But this is where they will show up. You'll see that in a minute when I import some clips. So this is where they will show up, and then you will move on over here to like effects, and this is where you're going to find your effects like transitions between videos and audio, which we will also cover. And these are a few other things you don't need to worry about right now, but mostly just keep it on the far left tab. Up here, we have what I like to call the immediate editing tab. This is basically the tab where you will be editing immediate stuff. Pretty self-explanatory. It's not the stuff that's in your timeline. It's the stuff. It's its own basic window. But what is edited in the sequence will show up here. This is your kind of like your final editing tab. And this is when you play what's on the timeline, it'll show up here. So basically what you see here is what, if you were to export it, the video would look like. And down here is your sequence, basically where you put your videos and your pictures and the timeline of your video. And this panel over here is Lumetri color. Basically, it's color grading. What that is, if you don't know, is basically just grading the color of your images or pictures to make them darker, give them more color, which you'll definitely want to do depending on the style of your video. But this will not show up or shouldn't pop up as your basic screen, your basic editing screen. It won't show up. I have it selected because if you go to Window up here, Lumetri color is selected. All the ones that are selected, timeline, workspaces, those are all things that are on the screen. And if I were to click another one, they would show up on my screen. But for right now, Lumetri color would not show up, but you might want to click that because color grading will not be covered in this video, but in the next video. Okay, so now that we know the layout, let's import some clips. So, and one thing to keep in mind is if you're actually using any of these, you need to have them selected. As you can tell, the blue boxes are going around the ones that are selected. So let's go over here and go to File. We'll go down to Import, and we need to import our clips. So I'll go into this is browsing your computer's files, and I'm going to go into here, and I have a video, and I also have a JPEG. And just select both of them, or whatever you want, and you click Import. Now this shouldn't take very long, and it didn't. Most of the time it won't take too long to import. Okay, so a basic thing to see here is that blue, this is an MP4, which means it's a video, and it's a JPEG, which means it's a picture. Notice that videos show up in blue and also have this little icon, and pictures show up with this icon and have pink. They are color-coded, which is very nice and easier. And also the names of the files. You can rename them if you want. Like here, I could double-click and say picture, seeing as though it's the only picture. You can rename them pretty easily like that. If you have a lot of files, obviously it's not that hard because I only have 2, but you'll have a lot and it'll be harder. So yeah, and then next thing we want to do is, okay, well, we have these clips. What you can do to select them is double click. Oh crap, don't do that. Double click on that part. There you go. If you double click on this part, it'll actually open it up in your files, and it's just weird. If that happens, just click cancel. You have to click like a certain part. But anyway, now that I selected it, this whole video has shown up, and you can use the scrubber, which is this blue thing, which will show up here, and the scrubber. It's a little glitchy, as you can tell, because this is a 4K video, and since I'm editing on a laptop currently, it doesn't handle 4K as well. You can do something called ingest settings, which will make 4K run smoother, but that will also not be covered in this video. That's something a little more advanced. But as you can tell, it's taking a long time to load, but when it does load, it's loading in very poor quality. The reason for that is if you look over here, it's at 1/16. That says set playback resolution. Now you can select, now if I were to go on full, this would be even worse. So if you want to see, if I were to click on full, go back to the beginning of this video and click play, it is not going to load very well at all. As you can tell, it's very jumpy. Now, this probably wouldn't happen if you had a low-quality video, but I'm guessing you probably have some pretty decent quality videos, and I'll just click stop. Now, if we go to 1/16, we set the playback resolution to 1/16. We will go there and click play, and this should run a lot smoother. There you go. As you can tell, it's running a lot more smoothly, and that's much better, especially when you're editing in 4K. It's going to be a lot easier for you to do that. So let's say, okay, well, I don't really want to import this I don't want to move this entire video over to my timeline. I only want a section of it. Okay, that's easy. On your keyboard, you want to click I for you want the I for in, where you want the video to start. And now this, as you can tell if I move my scrubber, this is where this is where I hit I. Now you can also move this manually, or you can move this a lot of different ways, so you don't have to do I or O. I and O are just the shortcuts. Notice it says mark out, which you can do like that, or mark in, which is I or O, as you can tell. They always have the shortcut in parentheses for you on the screens. But if I were to, so let's say I want I for in, and then I go over here and I click O for out. Now, if I were to select this and drag this into my timeline, only the grayed out area will appear in my timeline. Only the gray area will actually be used. None of this black or non-gray out area will be used. So, okay, now I'm happy with this clip. How do I move it? Well, you can see here it says no sequences. This is your timeline, but we don't have a timeline yet. So the way we make a timeline is we go up to File, we go to New, and we go to Sequence. And now this will set up sequence settings. Really don't worry about this right now. If you're shooting in 4K, I would recommend saying it's in 4K, putting it, and you can just look around these and choose what you want. But I would definitely recommend putting it in 4K if you're shooting in 4K. If not, just set whatever resolution. I honestly do not know what all these do, but I'm guessing it's just to better the quality of your video in the end. You can name it whatever you want. I'll just keep it as sequence 01. Now, as you can see, this popped up our sequence. So before I go into how to move this video in, I want to explain the sequence a little bit. So this is your sequence. It has V1, V2, V3. That's video 1, video 2, and video 3. The higher the number of the video, let's say I moved a video on video 3 and there was a video on video 1. So there was a video here and there was a video here. The one that's going to pop up and you're actually going to be seeing on the screen is video 3, because whatever video you have on top is going to show. Whatever, you can think of them as layers, or layering them basically. If you have V1 on the bottom and there's a V3 layer, the V3 layer is going to show because it's on top. And that's same with audio. Or actually, no, the audios will, sorry, never mind. The audios will just play over each other. But in terms of video, yes, they will, only the top one will be able to be seen. And the reason you do this is like for titles, like if you have text on the screen, you're going to want to put the text on top of the video over. So if you had a video on V1, you'd want the text on V2 or V3 or any other one above. So that's pretty much it. Oh, and A1, A2, A3, that's audio. So video is always going to go on top, audio on bottom. These are to see the clips or to not see the clips. You'll use those later, and then I guess you can lock it if you want. You don't want to accidentally change it or whatever. This is magnet, snap. I would recommend having this on because when you're dragging two videos together, you want them to snap pretty evenly together. So I'd recommend having that on. And the rest of these don't really worry about. And then this is your toolbar. I forgot to talk about this. So, and I'll talk about that in a minute. but that's your toolbar for right now, and you can explore those tools later. Anyway, getting back to what I was talking about, we want this video in our timeline now. Well, if you want the video and the audio, and obviously you can't hear the audio right now, but it is there, you just can't hear it, you click, hold, and drag in. And this is just asking me if I want to keep the settings of the sequence that I made or change it. Just change it or keep it, depending on you, whatever you want. Since I didn't make any specific sequence settings, I'll just say change sequence settings. Okay, so now that gray area now went into here, which is your final timeline. And notice what is now on the final timeline popped up in our final editing tab. Now, this is kind of small, so what you do if you want to zoom in on the clips is click plus on your keyboard. I'm clicking plus, and notice the time increments are getting smaller and smaller. And if I click minus, the time increments get, bigger and bigger, or smaller and smaller, and then bigger and bigger when you click minus. So plus, 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 minus, minus, minus. So the name of the clip will pop up, and this is blue because it's a video. Now you can move the scrubber on this part, and you can see what's happening. But for this, it's the playback resolution is the same as here. So you're going to want to set that pretty low so it runs smoothly. As you can see, it's going to run pretty smoothly. There you go. So, and this is playing what's coming from the timeline. And it will jump a little bit because it's such a high quality video. But let's say, okay, let me delete this by selecting them and clicking delete on my keyboard. Let's say, wait a second, I only want the video from this clip. So this says drag video only. You hold down, drag, and notice only the video has popped up. There's no audio. There's nothing in the A1 or A2 box. So let's say, okay, well, I only want audio. You delete this. I just want to delete that. Select audio only, hold down, and drag into that. And now you only have the audio from that clip. So that's pretty self-explanatory there. Delete. Now I'm going to drag the whole thing in. But let's say, okay, well, I like this clip. Select it. And by the way, whenever it's just whited out like this, it's mean it's selected. It's like, okay, well, now I want to cut the video. Like, I don't want to have to go always into this tab. I want to edit in here. Well, that's very easy. Now, over here on your tools panel, there's something called the razor tool. I use C, keyboard shortcut, and it automatically goes. See, the C is in parentheses. But let's say, okay, well, I want to cut it. Notice that there's a line, the line that I have over the Templeton final video is also going over the audio. And if I click it, it's going to cut the audio and the video right there. So now if I were to click V for select and select these and move them, they are now two separate clips because I cut them. Nothing got deleted, they only got cut. But let's say, wait a second, I didn't want to cut all of this. I only wanted to cut the video or just the audio. Notice when I click one, they are both selected. Well, if you don't want this to happen, the reason this is happening is because they're linked. And the way to unlink them is by right-clicking on one of them, going down and clicking unlink. Now, one of these will be linked and one of these won't be. I mean, they'll both be unlinked. And notice these are still linked because they were cut, so they were no longer. They're not one video. Okay, so that's cutting, and you can make any cuts anywhere at any time and delete them or do whatever. And if you, let's say you make a mistake, so oh crap, I accidentally deleted that video. No worries. Click Command Z if you're on a Mac or Control Z if you're on a Windows or something like that, and it'll go back. And you can keep clicking Command Z to keep going back and back and back if you make mistakes. So, okay, so that's pretty much the basics of putting in clips. Next thing we want to talk about are effects. So let's say, okay, well, here, if I were to cut out this portion of the video, cut this, and delete it. Like, okay, well, I want to transition. And by the way, you click, if you have a space in between two clips, what you do is right-click in between them and click Ripple Delete, and that will delete the spaces that is between the audio and the video. Notice that now there's a space in between. So if I go, you notice there's a jump. It's because I deleted a section of the video, and that's why it jumps to the new part of the video. Okay, well, let's say I play. Like, okay. Wait, I don't like that cut. I don't like that choppy cut. Well, this brings us to our next portion of the video, effects on clips. Now, to get to the effects, as I already explained previously, you're going to want to go down over here, keep clicking onto effects. And these are going to be the effects that are going to be transitions. So what you want to do is go to audio transitions, click that down. You're also going to want video transitions. Don't worry about the other stuff for right now. Just worry about these to keep it less confusing. Now all we need for audio transitions are crossfade, and all we need for video transitions are dissolve. Don't worry about the other ones for right now. These are your basic ones. So now we can see both the audio transitions and the video transitions. So let's do the video ones first. So let's worry about, these will all be handled the same way. They all have different things that they do, but we're going to go over a few of them just so you can see what they do. So let's say, okay, well, I want these to fade into each other. I want the two clips to like kind of, mesh into one and then go to the next one. Well, the way to do this is go by going on cross dissolve, holding, clicking, and dragging in between the two clips. Notice that this weird grayed out area, this is where if you were to release, this is where it is dropped. And there we go, cross dissolve has been dropped. So we click plus to zoom in, and now we see cross dissolve. Now, if you use your scrubber, you will see that the two clips blend together. You can see they're both on there, like the opacity's down, and it goes into the next one. Kind of like that. So instead of being choppy, you have a nice cross dissolve. Now, if you don't like that, or let's say you want to make it longer, you move your cursor right over here until you see that red half a like square with that box. That means it has this selected, the effect selected. So you either make it longer, shorter, release, and now it's longer or shorter, which means that the it'll take a longer time for these two to blend into each other. Or if you want a really short time, you just make it really short, like that. And now the transition will happen faster. So, and all of these will are handled the same way. They just all do different things. So let's say I don't want cross dissolve. I want dip to black, which means there will be a dip to black. Put them in between, drop it, and you go and you play it, and it fades black. Then it goes in the next video instead of having a cross dissolve. Now, dip to white does the same thing as dip to black, except with white color. Film dissolve is a little bit different, and you can try those out on your own. So it's like, okay, well, now I have this dip to black, I have this transition, that's all good stuff, but now I want an audio transition. Now, you can't hear my audio in my videos, so you'll just have to imagine that there's audio playing, and I'll explain what these three do. So, just to show you, I won't explain what this does yet, but it's the same. You hold, click, drag, release, and they're going to be the same type of thing where you drag to see how long you want it to last, or if you want it to happen over a really short period of time. So they're the same as video and audio transitions are handled the same way. Now, I'll just explain what they do. Constant gain. Think of it as you're gaining speed when you're running. It's a constant speed. It's going to be, you're going to constantly get louder and louder until you peak your loudness. Like if this was a quiet video and this was a loud video, it's going to get louder and louder until it reaches the volume of that one. An exponential fade is exactly the opposite. Let's say you're at the end of a video and there's nothing and this is your last clip. It'll get quieter until nothing. Or until the volume of the next clip. Constant power is exactly what it means, or exactly what it says. It's constant, so it'll just create a little bit of a better blend between the two while keeping the volume constant. So that's what all the audio transitions do. Yeah, that's pretty much crossfade. Yeah, those are all the audio transitions. You can decide how long you want those. And that's pretty much the effects in a nutshell. I wouldn't worry too much about other drop-down boxes for right now. Only worry about the ones I showed you, and you can try out all these. Okay, next portion of the video, I want to talk about titles. So let's make this a little bigger so you can see what's going on. So you're like, oh, okay, this is a cool shot. I want to add a title. I want to add text to the screen. Super easy. All you got to do is go to File, New, and go to Legacy Title. Now, you're probably going to want to name it because I would recommend it because title 1, 2, 3, 4, it's going to get really confusing. So since this is the first one, I'll just call it Intro. So now, once you click OK, it's going to open up this box. And now, notice that wherever my scrubber was is where this box will pop up. So this shot where I had the scrubber is where I'm going to put my text. So I have the text type tool selected. Now to make a text, I simply click on the screen once. Now that'll come up with a little box, and I know you can't see it very well, but I'll type super or sample text. Okay, well, that's really small. I want it bigger and I want to move it. Okay, select it just like you would in Word or Google Docs or something like that. And this is your size. So let's say I want it 4 times bigger. So 400. That's a good size. Well, I don't like the color. Okay, we'll come over to the right, and there's a lot of different settings, which I'll go into more detail in later videos. But for right now, this is color, and most of these things are pretty self-explanatory. Opacity, all this stuff. Just go to color for right now. Click it, and let's say I want brighter white. See, it was like right there, and I want bright white or any color. It doesn't matter. Just click OK. Now it got a little brighter. I don't know if you could tell, but it did. And it changed the color. So let's say, okay, well, I like it, but I want to move it. Okay, well, really easy way to center everything in the directly smack down center of your screen is by clicking this button, which it shows is a vertical lineup, and this is a horizontal lineup. So horizontal, vertical, now it's directly in the center of the screen or whatever video you have in the background. But let's say, oh, I don't want it directly smack dab in the middle. I want it somewhere else. Well, click the selection tool here in the up left-hand corner, and you can drag it wherever you want it. It's a little laggy, but let's say, okay, I want it here. Okay, whatever. You want it there. Everything's good and dandy. But hey, I want to change the text. You go back up into text, the type tool, and you select it, and you go into all the different types of fonts. So let's say I want typewriter, or I want typewriter, and then some fonts have even bigger submenus, so you can select, I want the bold version, and then I'll center it again, and there's my text. Now, to save this, it's kind of weird, but you got to close out of it. You don't actually save, you just click X. Now, what you want to do is you're like, oh crap, where'd it go? It does not, once you exit out, it's not going to show up in your timeline. It's actually saved, but it's not in your timeline. So, what you want to do is I'm going to make this a little bigger so I can see what I'm doing. Go back over to your project window. There you go. Now, intro, that title is going to show up as pink, as pictures do, but that's actually a title. So what you want to do is double click it. Nope, sorry, don't double click it. That's going to take you back into the editing tab. What you want to do is drag it straight into the timeline and put that where you want it. Now, if I play, since it's over the video, it's going to play over the video for as long as you have it set to play for. And effects such as dip to black, crossfade can be done the same way. Go over to your effects panel, and they're done as same as if it was a video or image. Think of titles as not their own thing, but as images. They're just images that you can manipulate. And we'll do cross dissolve. Let's say I wanted to cross dissolve in, and I wanted to cross dissolve out. Just drag it as you would a video or a picture. Click play. And as you can see, the text will fade in and fade out. It was really glitchy there, but it did in fact fade in and fade out. You can see it fades in, it plays, and it fades out. So that's pretty much text in a nutshell. Go back over here, and you can see the text is right there, and you can make as many texts as you want, or titles, sorry. So yeah, that's titles, and yeah, that's pretty much it for titles. You can do like zooming in on titles, making titles fly by the screen, or making do things like kind of animating the titles, but that will be for another video. Animation is a little bit harder in Premiere, and it takes a little bit more knowledge, but let's go on to the next part, which is saving. So you're like, oh wow, this creation is pretty awesome. I want to save it. Maybe you want to export it directly when you're done, but most things will take you more than one sitting. So what you want to do is like any program, go File, Save As, and save it wherever you want it. Click Where, then you'll just put it wherever you want, or you go and you'll save it as whatever type. Just save it as a project. Be like, okay, well, save. I won't save it for right now, but pretend I saved it, and it will save to that destination. Now, what if you're saying, well, no, I'm done. I'm ready to export. Okay, File, go down to Export, and you go to Media. And this is going to be basically, when you save it, it's not saving it as a ready to watch video. You need to export it. So you click Export Media, and this will bring up a big bunch of settings, which I will have to go into a little bit of detail about So I can't tell you that I know a whole lot about a lot of these settings. I know what I usually do, and I pretty much stick to it. But down here, we'll show you your video and what it will look like when it's completely rendered. It'll try to give you a best estimate of what it'll look like with the highest quality it can. So you want to make sure, first of all, let's look at the top. So you can say match sequence settings, and our sequence settings, if you remember, was set to 4K. You could just click that and save yourself a lot of time, but I don't know why that's not working, but I wouldn't do that. There's a formatting. You can choose all these types that you want to export your format. H.264 is just what I use. I could probably use anything else. Don't do JPEG. That's just going to save it as an image. I mean, you can do other stuff, but H.264 is what I use. It works fine. This is a bunch of different presets for how you want to save your video. Yeah, there are a lot. So you can do some research on these. I just use match source rate. Or I sometimes do other ones, but it really doesn't matter. Output name. Click on this. This is what it's going to save as. So right now, the name is going to be Sequence 1. That's pretty gross. Let's change it to Adobe Tutorial. And then you'd say save, but I'll just click cancel for right now. But you'd click save, and it'll change the name to Adobe Tutorial. Now, that's where it's going to save. So once it exports, it's done. It's going to save to wherever you set right there to where you want it to save. It'll save there, and it'll show up, and then you can go and open it, depending on how long it takes to export. You want to make sure that video and audio are selected because you want both of them to be exported. You don't just want to have a video with no sound or audio with no video. Unless you want them to be that way, then bear in mind this is how you do it. This will basically tell you what the output is going to be like based off the settings you made, like what it's going to look like. It's going to be in 4K because we have a 4K preset. And video, don't worry about this right now. But this, if you really want to, even if it's going to take a lot longer, have the best quality video you can, I highly recommend clicking use maximum render quality. This will probably take a lot longer, not a lot longer, but quite a bit longer. So I would just say use maximum render quality. And that's pretty much it for right now. And you just click export, and then it would say exporting media. Depending on how long and how high of quality a video you want it to be, it might take a few hours. If you're shooting even a few minute 4K video, it's going to take a few hours. So you need to just let it do its thing. You can probably use your computer while it's working, but I wouldn't mess with it too much. And then you click export, it would show up, and that's pretty much it for exporting. So that brings us to the end of part 1 of Adobe Premiere Pro. I hope you guys enjoyed. I will be hopefully coming up with more videos to help you guys out. But that is the bare bone basics intro to Adobe Premiere Pro. Again, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. Have fun editing.